So this, of course, is Chutney, and I've had Chutney since I was 9 years old. And some people might describe Chutney as what's called a transitional object. Transitional object is normally a sentimental stuffed animal that people have in childhood, but some people have transitional objects that are a bit more unusual, like a spoon or something like that. And what it is an object that helps normally a child move through a difficult period or to grow. I have OCD, and I am having a bit of a difficult period at the moment with my OCD, although I'm happy to say that it is getting better. And as many of you will also know, that Chutney's personality, she is a bit bossy. She is the executive producer of the Sarah and Chutney channel, and her absolute aim in life is to have a theme park based around Chutasia. And so when I was not posting much, Chutney was getting very, very anxious. So she represents a certain part of my personality that's into YouTube and creative things. So enter new transitional object. So I will describe the interaction between the two. So this is our new friend who is called Tropickle, and he has become a kind of new transitional object, but what he serves is a different aim or purpose than Chutney. So Chutney is representing this part of me when I was 9 that needed an outlet, which was all about just being really creative and imaginative. What was happening was I had lots of emotions, and I have issues with emotional invalidation. So that's when, I don't know, you feel sad, but in your mind, you're telling yourself, I shouldn't be sad about this. Or if you have OCD, you have things like, how do I know this is what sadness feels like? How do I know if I am sad? And so what Tropickle served for is, I was very deliberate. I have all of these cuddly toys, and all of them have personalities, and all of them speak, all of them make jokes. And I knew that for this period I was going through, where I was a bit, having emotional time, I needed a friend or a comfort who could, as they say in psychotherapy, like sit with the feelings. So enter Tropickle. So Tropickle doesn't speak. So he's the first one that doesn't speak. He doesn't talk. He's sort of like, he has a sort of curious look, like he sort of looks around at things like, So he dances like this, and he has a little sort of theme tune that goes a bit like, how does it go? He goes, tropical, tropical, like that. So he dances around. So he does have ways of interacting, but he's deliberately ambiguous. So he doesn't speak, doesn't really have opinions on things. He's just sort of curious. He just experiences things. He just experiences life. He's just like, oh, you're feeling sad? Like, that's fine. I'm just here. I'm just here while you're sad. He holds complexity. That's his sort of purpose. So I don't know if you've noticed, but he is a hedgehog, but he is also a pineapple. He's not just a hedgehog, and he's not just a pineapple. He is a pineapple hedgehog. And again, if you've done anything like psychotherapy, sort of what they call holding complexity is something that's quite important to develop. So you don't collapse things down into simple narratives. You can hold seemingly contradictory things at the same time. He understands everything and nothing is something I like to say. So he's sort of super wise. He sort of totally understands and doesn't understand at the same time. Like he's just going with it. So that's Tropickle. What happened to Chutney then, and I think this is very interesting psychologically, is that obviously then I was spending a lot of time with Tropickle and not so much with Chutney. And I didn't want Chutney to feel lonely or upset. So I gave Chutney her own stuffed animal. So this is Woofie, Woofie the dog, who is Chutney's transitional object. And this here, I think, is where we start to get into something that I think is quite interesting. So in the same way that I am connected to Chutney, Chutney is connected to Woofie. So Chutney likes to make Woofie talk. Chutney has her own paracosm now. Woofie is from a place called Woofieville, and I believe he is the mayor of Woofieville. And I haven't made any of this up. This is Chutney's doing. She's very strict that I'm not allowed to be involved. It's between her and Woofie. So basically what I did to yeah, so I would be feeling like bad emotionally or something, and then I would have Tropickle, which would be very nice, but then I would feel bad for Chutney being left on her own, so then I gave Chutney her own stuffed animal to comfort her, so Chutney, my transitional object, now has a transitional object, but everybody is happy, so that's all good. How does Chutney feel about you having other transitional objects currently and when you were a child? When I was a child, I think probably Chutney was the primary. I think I had transitional objects, but they were like one at a time. And so the transitional object that came before Chutney was Harry the Hedgehog. And it was because I loved Harry the Hedgehog so much that I bought him a friend and then just sort of
ditched Harry.
Yeah, just sort of said, thank you, Harry. I mean, Harry is part of Chutasia.
I like Harry very much. He paved the way.
Just whack the microphone.
Harry paved the way for my greatness. Thank you, Harry.
And then since then, I would say it was pretty much only Chutney until recently with Tropickle. Now we'll do a bit more psychological, philosophical talk. What is happening here with these two transitional objects? And it may be, and I'm not an expert on this.
No, you're really not an expert. I'm not even sure you should talk about this.
People have an introverted and extroverted part of their personality, and it is possible that Chutney represents more of the extroverted part of my personality, that in my childhood sort of struggled to find an outlet. Like I was very creative and imaginative, but I didn't really know what to do with that, and I didn't really have like a sort of playmate or something, like a sort of someone to play with, and so I might have created Chutney as a kind of mirror of that part of myself. And there's also some interesting stuff I've been looking at about Jungian archetypes. And again, I really don't know anything, but one of them is called the Joker. And it seems that part of the function of the Joker, or the Jester, the Jester, is that in the court, in the King's Court, basically the only person in the room who can tell the truth to the king is the Jester, because he tells the truth, but he tells the truth in a humorous way. He reveals the truth by saying something funny or something like that. And I wonder whether Chutney in some ways played that part of my life, because she's quite bold and outspoken, and especially when I was younger, like she would just say it how it was. I don't know to what extent she was sort of expressing this kind of Jester archetype where she could say the truth when perhaps Sarah couldn't, or Sarah was afraid to do so. So going back to that, it may be that Tropickle, who his personality is more like he doesn't speak, he doesn't say anything, he's just sort of curious, like he's just there. He's just like, woohoo. And, I say with Tropickle, he understands everything and nothing. He holds complexity. He's a pineapple and he's a hedgehog. And he's just sort of accepting everything. He's sort of accepting all my emotions. He's accepting experience. He doesn't judge. He's just like, he's just like, hello. And it may be that Tropickle is representing more of maybe the introverted part of myself that perhaps I did not develop particularly well, or maybe not that I didn't develop particularly well, but maybe I've gone through like a bit more of a developmental phase in terms of my inner world and feeling my emotions and accepting my feelings and stuff. That Tropickle is kind of this kind of like, just like, oh, you're really sad about something? Okay, well, I'm here. He's just like, okay, you're sad. Okay, you think that, whereas Chutney can't really do that. Chutney, so the relationship between them. Chutney likes Tropickle, he just, he's fine with everything. He's just like, so there's no issue between Tropickle from his side. And Chutney likes Tropickle.
He's very different to me.
He's very different to you.
But I appreciate him. He's very, accepting.
Yeah, he's accepting, isn't he?
He's curious about me, and he's very nice, even though he doesn't say anything. I know that he's nice and warm and caring.
Yeah. So anyway, there's some sort of healing of deep trauma happening. I don't really know. So that's some stuff. So because you and Chutney share an essence, are you able to communicate with her when you aren't with her? Or can you only hear her when her stuffed animal is around?
Do you want to answer that one?
I can answer that one. I do not need her stuffed toy body to be able to talk to her. I can talk to her whenever I want, in my head.
Yeah.
Which may or may not be a mental illness.
That is very convenient for me.
So no, she does not need to be with me. I can talk to her. And I think going back to some of the philosophical stuff as well, as I was saying, I was looking at some of the sort of Jungian archetype stuff with Chutney being perhaps the Jester. I'm not sure exactly which one Tropickle related to, maybe the self or something. I'm not sure. There's something interesting that Jung calls active imagination, and I'm very interested in it for many reasons. And he talks in active imagination. Basically, what Jung did was he had these this is not going to be a very good. If you really care about this, go and actually watch a video about it or read the book, because I'm going to explain it in the best way I can, but I may have things wrong. But yeah, he wrote this book called The Red Book, where he had a series of conversations with characters and people who existed in his mind. And then he wrote them down. And so there were sort of beings in his mind that he said represented different parts of his psyche or something. Okay, I really don't know what I'm talking about. But anyway, what I really want to get to is that he had these characters in his head, or personalities or personas in his head, that he would talk to. And when he would talk to them, he would be surprised by what they would say, or they would offer insight about things, or when he would ask them questions, they would respond in interesting ways, and he was writing it down to sort of see what it said about him or about the world or whatever. And what I want to get to is that when I interact with Chutney, because we've known each other for a very long time, when she talks and I'm making her talk, I don't think in my head oh, what will Chutney say? And then make her say it. It comes out as a stream of consciousness, or maybe not stream of consciousness, but when she speaks, I don't know what she's going to say until she says it. So she truly has the ability to shock me, to surprise me, to make me laugh. So quite often, Chutney genuinely says things that make me laugh, even though they're coming out of my mouth. So of course, in the sort of paracosm world, we can talk about, the shared essence, and she's sort of using me to express herself or whatever. But I think there's something very interesting about whether what psychologically is actually going on. Could be pretty fun to, I think it could even be in line with and even enhance the understanding of the paracosm. It doesn't have to be sort of oh, there's the fake paracosm world.
It's not fake, it's real.
I think that they can feed each other. So yeah, I think that there's something interesting about what could be happening. Maybe my paracosm and Chutney and my characters in this world, maybe it's actually very profound and interesting and deep and psychological what I'm doing here. Maybe I'm actually doing some sort of exploration about the human mind and the human experience of life.
I think so. Apart from the human bit, because I'm not a human.
Okay. He does not have any hands, and I'm not 100% sure why. I don't know yet if it's actually something about his personality and character, or if it's just simply that the manufacturer wanted to save some money by not putting any hands on Tropickle. I actually do have, once I understood that Tropickle was going to be important to me, I bought two other Tropickles that are in my parents' wardrobe, in my wardrobe at my parents' house, because if I'd have known when I got Chutney that Chutney was going to be as important to me as she is, I would have bought 20 spare Chutneys, because then you can mine them for their body parts. Potentially what I might do, but I need to think about it, is I might, it sounds a little bit barbaric to say, but I may cut off the feet of one of the spare Tropickles and sew it onto Tropickle as hands. he's just like, yeah, do whatever you want. I don't really care. It's not that he doesn't care. He's just like, sure. Like, he's not got an issue with not having hands. It's more of my issue. Yeah, we shouldn't really project our problems onto others, you know. He's never mentioned or ever suffered or been bothered by the fact that he doesn't have hands. This is all me. It's me that feels bad that he doesn't have hands. It's me that's trying to solve a problem that's not a problem for him. It's a problem for me. So really what I should address is my inner insecurity and my inner uncomfortability with him not having hands is the true solution, rather than, you know, taking a needle and thread and cutting the feet off another one. I don't know. We'll see what I do. If I do like a little hand transplant, I'll probably record it. We'll see. So yeah, they do get along. Tropickle is cool with Chutney, and Chutney likes Tropickle. I think she finds him quite a calming presence. How do you choose new transitional objects, both for you and for Chutney? So I think Tropickle just kind of happened to be in the right place at the right time. He just sort of appeared in a moment of need. Don't know if there's anything supernatural about that happening. Probably not. I don't know. Actually, he was in an advert. I was on Instagram and it came up with an ad, and I saw it, and I saw Tropickle, and I was like, I think I need to own that. I try not to buy too many more stuffed animals because we do have limited space. And so I only really want to buy them when they stand out as something really special.
Yeah, because the ones that you've already got are not special.
No, it's just, you know, just need to be careful. But I think Tropickle is special in that way. Chutney came from when I was 9. I went into like some sort of cafe. It was like a sort of restaurant cafe, and they were selling, I think it was in the countryside somewhere. So they had sort of countryside animals, maybe like owls and things like that. And they had Chutney, hedgehog. And because I had Harry, and Harry was a hedgehog, I was on the lookout for a friend for Harry, and that's why I got Chutney. So that's where Chutney's from, a cafe. And Tropickle is from an Instagram ad. But, you know, this is very modern, the modern story. Woofie was a toy that someone had given me in the past. And yeah, he just happened to, you know, we were looking for someone to comfort Chutney. And I had Woofie in the cupboard, and it was like, well, he didn't used to be called Woofie, but Chutney named him Woofie. I didn't name him Woofie. Chutney named him Woofie. So that's why he came into being. Have you heard of the therapy theory, internal family systems? When you mention these characters representing different parts of you, it reminds me a bit about internal family systems. I actually think that he mentioned this to me when I recently told him this idea about Chutney and Tropickle representing different parts of me, of us. That I think he actually brought up internal family systems. So I'll be interested when his message comes up. Yes, I agree. Those ideas of different parts of you is the case in many therapy systems. Wow, thank you. Yes, I wonder whether that we call it a day there for the stream. Thank you so much for your questions. It's been so interesting to explore. But yeah, I can feel that my brain is like, now brain is not working, time to end stream.